just love that sound. You know, who doesn't love the sound of a well closing door? Porsches are actually pretty good at this, but there's a lot that can go wrong. For instance, if your hinges are out of whack, like if there's play in the hinges, that's bad news. Rubber isn't in the correct place. That can also cause it to rebound or act weird. How do you get that ping sound? How do you get that nice thud? No clunking, no movement in the door. The latch right here is something I'm going to work on today. I'm going to show you how to rebuild that, how to adjust it to get the best closing door.
Garage time.
This is my wife's car. I don't know if you can see this, but this door actually closes itself. It has a motor inside that does the latching for you. It's no wonder this car is like 4,000 pounds. It's a great car, but I'd rather drive mine. It does sound a little hollow because there are no door panels in this car. Don't plan to use them. Okay, that distinctive ping sound comes mostly from this latch. This is for a 356, but it's basically the same, just a little simplified. That clever sound when you close the door is very distinctive with Porsche. And if this mechanism and spring is got 50-year-old grease in there, it's hardened up, it's not gonna give that sound. It's gonna be like a real slow movement, a real slight ping. So if you wanna restore the ping, you gotta make sure these work well. I like to clean them in ultrasonic cleaner, get all the old grease out, use a dental pick, put new grease in, and you're back to business. These are prone to breaking. There's some plastic bits inside, and that's allowing my door to flex a little too much. I'm concerned I'm gonna chip the paint. This is the one from the passenger side, and you can see that there's a piece of plastic that normally surrounds this large pin, like this one surrounds this large pin. The lower piece of plastic is completely missing, and the upper piece of plastic has got some wear in that surface right there. So it's time to rebuild it. These are available new. However, there's also a kit that you can now buy that includes new pieces of plastic. So you can use the original metal, which tends to be a little stronger, a little thicker than the replacements. Here are the pieces of plastic that are available for this. I believe these are each different material. One seems like nylon to me. The other one's like polyethylene or something. But these will restore the function of the door latch so your doors are nice and secure. Here I'm fixing a few blemishes on the striker panels. They had some serious abuse where the door latch just collided with it, left it Mars on it. So I'm filling it up with extra material, and then I'll grind it smooth, hopefully for an invisible repair. Okay, these parts have just come back from plating, and you can see they look pretty decent, right? They look nice and clean, very shiny. You really can't tell where the weld repair was. I think I did a little bit right there, but you really can't tell. Yeah, this one looks pretty clean too. I think I did some welding right here around that hole. There's an extra piece because I just happen to have an extra one. So I only have 2 rebuild kits, so I'll just pick the best out of the 3. Also had the pins replated. You really only see the ends on these, but these are nice and clean as well. Before I put these together, I want to just show that there are a few differences on these things. This one is a lighter weight version. They're both factory originals from Keeper. That's some German name, I don't even know how to pronounce it. The part numbers are the same until you get to the very last digit. This is a -2R, this is a -3R. And the thickness of this part seems to be a little different. This is 2.5 millimeters, this is 2.04 millimeters. So this is a thinner version. And I happened to notice that on my car, I needed to put some spacer plates between there. So I'm gonna use the thicker version. Even though it's heavier, I think it's built a little bit better, and it also prevents me from having to use more spacers on the body. Oh, luckily that fits on there pretty tight. And then I need to rotate it this way so I can get the other one in. I'll do my best not to scratch these. I just noticed a small burr right there. I'm gonna have to file that off just a little bit so that we can get that plastic part on there without shredding it. So we'll just get a little file on that one. It's hard to get that file in there and there's no teeth on the end. So let's go to a Dremel tool probably. All right, that's fully seated on this edge. Now we should be able to just rotate this all back to position. This spot right here, because of the conical shape of this depression, that starts to lift it a little bit. So you just gotta be careful you don't bend it right there. Okay, it stopped rotating because it's interfering right here. So we just got to get the plastic situated at a spot where this can go over without binding. A little bit tricky. But if you cheat and orient the plastic pointing outward, I think it'll be easier. And then I just realized that on some of these pieces of plastic, like on this one, it has a little half moon cut out right here. I don't know if that's intentional. It looks like the countersink might have just gone past the edge of the part there. But I think that might allow for that cone to pass through without trying to bend the plate up. So I think I might have found the best sort of starting position for these. This one is the right side, and I think it's best to rotate this one clockwise. That way this cone can pass right through this little opening right here. I can position this plastic piece so that cone won't interfere with the plastic as it goes around. And then when it gets close to this side, I can orient it right here. It'll ramp right over that. And then this side will have the moon positioned like this, so when this piece comes over, it'll interface with that moon right there. So I think it's just a little bit of a puzzle, a little bit of sequencing needed. It's coming right around, and then now I can position this guy to go right about like that. Hopefully this can go all the way around like so, and this guy can go like so. And now it is together. These two holes is where the pins go in, and they line up really well. You got to be careful you don't bend it right around here. When I was disassembling them, I did bend it, but I was able to hammer it back. So during assembly, I was aware not to let it tilt up too much. And that's where timing the location of the plastic pieces is kind of important. Yeah, these were the original pins. They went in a little too easy, to be honest with you. And so now the part is, I mean, it's not going to rotate, but it's not holding it together either. So that's something to be mindful of. You probably should select some new pins. When this gets bolted to the car, it's going to clamp itself down tight. Now we're going to rotate it counterclockwise because it's the opposite side. This cone is going to slide right around here as this pivots. So we'll slide right through here and then orient this so that this cone is going to go up on that ramp. So here they are. They're both assembled. Like I said, they're each about the same. They have a tiny little gap right there. I think if I was supplying this kit, I probably would have supplied new pins. I do have a plate that goes between the latch plate and the panel. That's to move this out a little bit. My car needed a little bit of a spacer. These are homemade, and I forgot to send this to the plater at the same time. So this is just bare steel. I'm gonna have to take this off again. After this gets plated, I'll reassemble it again. But for now, I'm gonna put it together, adjust it, make sure I could still drive the car. I'm not using the factory screws. I'm just using some Phillips head ones. So if I hold this carefully up against the paint, you can see it's not fully closed. It's only off by like, I mean, 1/16 of an inch at the most. Just gonna put a little bit of tape right here so I can tell where I was. Just gonna throw a tiny bit of grease on the parts that make contact. It makes contact up here where you can't see it. Then right on this pin. Okay, the door latch is not popping open, so feels like it's pretty safe. Awesome. So here's how it looks from inside the car. These are not the correct screws, but I actually don't care on this car. I don't want to spend like $30 or $40 on the correct screws, and you got to buy a tool for them. These are perfectly fine in my opinion. It's certainly tight enough. I was able to put a lot of torque on them. When it's closing, you can see why that spacer is required. See, the latch right there is pretty close to not going into the cavity. It almost touches this outer plate right here. That's why the latch is spaced out a little bit. You don't want this part here to make contact with the metal. It's only supposed to contact the pin and the plastic. If I pick up the back of the door, I can lift the whole side of the car. It doesn't have any play in the hinges. And now when it's closed, there's no play back here. So it's actually makes the structure of the door part of the car, which is a big plus. The other thing some of you eagle-eyed guys probably saw is that I still have these temporary rubber pieces for the seal. That prevented the door from, closing too far as I was setting it up. So I'm going to take those out now, and I'm going to put I think I'm going to put the old seal in first, and then if there's time, I'll put the new seal in. But the new seal is going to require a lot of adjustment. And if you guys remember about the video, I said my car was too loud. Well, having no seals on the side and no windows is actually a big part of it. So it mostly holds itself in place. I am just going to use a little bit of rubber contact cement. It didn't really do anything to my door alignment gaps or the frame fitment. It's still pretty consistent. If anything, it might be bulging out just a little bit at the top. So it might require a small adjustment to the frame. But the door gaps, looking from the top, all look really good. Nothing really changed. I wasn't going to film this side, but I had a little revelation when it comes to adjusting the door striker. The driver's side actually was perfect the first time I closed the door. I adjusted the position in and out, but it felt really firm. So in other words, if I lift up and shake the door, it was perfect on the driver's side. Okay, on this side, I have two pieces of tape. One is to show the position this way, and this one is to show the position kind of up and down. And I'm happy with the up and down position, and I'm actually happy with this distance here too. But the issue I was having is something different. You can actually rotate this forward and tilt it back. And that happens to be very important in getting all the play out of the latch and the hinge striker mechanism. The bottom screw is probably the most important in determining the height of the door and also its elevation. But this upper adjustment is important in capturing the latch so you don't have any play. Let me take it out of adjustment and show you the difference. Now you can see there's a strong angle. I just tilted the whole thing back. And let me show you what that does when I close the door. That's why I rebuilt this. I didn't want that shaking to occur because I want this to feel really firm as I'm going down the road. That play is not good. If you look at the shape of the actual door latch, it's round here on the top. So when the pin hits this little catch, it rotates it all the way closed. And that puts pressure on the new plastic pieces. Right here you can see a little bit of wear. Now, if you adjust the plastic pieces in, there's too much gap here and the door can shift up and down. If you adjust the latch or the striker closer to the center line, it captures the top of this, prevents the door from flopping up and down. That's what I learned. And on the adjustment here on the striker, if it's leaning too far back, you're going to have play up and down in the door. I'm going to push it the other way and show you what happens. Okay, this time I've tilted it forward. The lower bolt has remained pretty much where it was, but the upper bolt has gone forward. So now when I close the door, it actually won't close because it has two catches. It's on the safety catch, it's not going to fling open. But now that round portion of the door latch is running into the plastic too early, too prematurely, and it won't let the door even close. So that's not good either. But there is a happy medium. If I rotate that upper bolt back, it'll let the door close, but also take up all the gap between the door latch and the plastic buffer block. That's what you want. You want the door to close hard, and then you want no play in that up and down direction. So if I adjust it parallel to the tape, like I had it a second ago, it'll be perfect to where the door closes, there's no up and down play. I gotta hand it to Porsche on that. That is ingenious. I love the way you can adjust both the position and the play in up and down direction. When it's tight like this and you can't shake the door up and down, that also means there's gonna be a lot less wear on the latch parts. It's just gonna be locked in solid, which is how it's designed. I think it's ingenious. Good job.